Amorex Getz Manufacturing presents Operation and Maintenance of Vacu-Fill Systems. In this presentation, we will go over the Vacu-Fill operations including mobile systems, shop systems, and wheeled unit filling systems. We will cover the principle of the Vacu-Fill, how does it work, how to maintain the Vacu-Fill system, what to look for and when to change out parts, what maintenance kits are available, and our recommendations, how to get further information that you may need. The principles of the system. Our Vacu-Fill system will create a vacuum inside the cylinder being filled. Once the vacuum is created, the air will travel back towards the hopper. The airflow is what allows the chemical to transfer from inside the hopper to the extinguisher. During the chemical transfer, the moving chemical will fluidize inside the cylinder, creating a fast transfer method from hopper to extinguisher. Since the Vacu-Fill is a closed recovery system, it will minimize the amount of dust going into the atmosphere, keeping the technician in a clean environment. Air requirements for operating the Vacu-Fill system are the same whether the system is a mobile service truck or in a shop. The requirements for air supply are 1 to 2 CFM with 60 to 80 psi from one of three sources: nitrogen, CO2 vapor, or an air compressor. The jar filter and jar filter gasket are both critical components in making the console work correctly. The jar filter has a rubberized seal on the top and the bottom of the filter. This seal keeps the chemical from leaking outside of the jar. It is important to clean your jar filter daily to remove the chemical from the filter. Use compressed air set no more than 30 psi. Replace your jar filter if any chemical is exhausting out the vent line. Your jar filter should be replaced on a quarterly basis. The jar gasket, which is located at the top of the jar filter housing, should be replaced yearly. You can refer to your operations manual for our recommended maintenance. The lid filter is very critical in the operation of the Vacu-Fill system. This is what contains the chemical inside the hopper. Our lid filter is made of durable synthetic material which keeps the chemical from clogging the filter pores. Chemical can be removed from the lid filter with a vacuum cleaner. Your lid filter needs to be replaced a minimum of once a year. Our new lid filters are form-fitted to the hopper. It is very important to install the filters with the filter hanging on the outside of the hopper. Proper installation and keeping your lid filter clean are key components in keeping your Vacu-Fill operating properly. Installation of the filter is a very easy process. Place the lid filter on the top of the hopper with the sides of the filter on the outside of the hopper. Place the lid on top of the hopper over the filter. Place the hopper latches in the proper position, and then latch down the hopper lid. Now let's turn our attention to the discharge hose located on the front of the hopper. The discharge hose allows a visual look at the type and condition of the chemical coming from the extinguisher. This hose will need to be inspected daily by squeezing the hose between your finger and checking for soft spots. Typical hose wear will be within the first 6 inches of the hose past the coupling. The most common wear mark will be a brown burn mark. Replace the hose if you find burn marks or soft spots in the hose. Remember, if the hose breaks during the discharge process, you will have chemical all over the room or area you are working in. The on-off valve is located on the Vacu-Fill console. So your control console's been in service for some time, and the valve is hard to turn in the on or off position. The reason is that chemical may be in the valve body. If so, it will damage the packaging of the valve and cause it to leak air. Your solution is to lubricate the valve. You should clean and lubricate your valve on a quarterly basis. We also recommend that you change the on-off valve every 2 years. Valve lubrication is a very simple process, but first you need to make sure that the pressurized air going to your console is turned off. To disassemble the valve, you need to loosen the stem nut all the way. It may pop up on you a bit. Once it has been loosened, turn the valve on and off one more time. This will loosen the inside and allow you to take the valve apart. You then need to clean thoroughly the inside of the valve body. Next, put a light coating of Vaseline on the base of the valve stem. When reassembling the valve, it is most important part of putting the valve back together is making sure the external notch is in the position with the cut groove of the valve body. The groove is always on the side of the valve between the two mounting holes of the body. Screw back the stem nut into the body of the valve. So you find that the chemical is slow to transfer from the hopper or transfer slow into your extinguisher. First, you need to make sure that your incoming air pressure is set to 60 to 80 psi. Second, make sure that your vent line is clear. If the vent line is clear, then your venturi needs to be replaced. The venturi is the heart and soul of the Vacu-Fill system. The venturi is what makes the whole system work. Ultimately, when the venturi becomes packed and dirty, it will restrict the airflow to the system, which is what causes the system to run slow. When this happens, it's time to replace your venturi. You may find that as you fill extinguisher, you notice that puffs of air or chemical are continuously blowing out of the fill cone. The reason this happens is that the vent line has been restricted or the venturi has been installed in backwards. Check your vent line to make sure that it is not bent or restricted in any way. If it checks out, then double check your venturi and see if it was recently replaced or reinstalled because it's probably installed backwards. Using the 400-pound hopper system takes a bit more work. It has been designed for wheeled units ranging from 50 to 350 pounds. It uses a regulated air source of 100 psi at 13 CFM, which is a bit higher than our standard Vacu-Fill system. That's because the wheeled units are bigger than hand portables, so we had to design the system with a larger venturi in order to handle the higher vacuum rate. Remember, the lid filter requires to be cleaned after recovery of a 350-pound wheeled unit. Smaller wheeled units require less maintenance. A 150-pound wheeled unit, the filter should be cleaned after every 2 units have been recovered. You may also want to consider to purchase a wheeled unit discharge hose. It saves time and cleanup when you don't have to clean out the discharge hose out of every extinguisher. It is shorter than the wheeled unit hose. This keeps you close to the hopper, which makes it easy for service tech to keep track of their tools and equipment. The wheeled unit discharge hose was made for several reasons. It allows the wheeled unit discharge line to be removed if the line becomes plugged. The restrictor inside of the hopper can be cleared if need be while the discharge hose has been disconnected. The discharge process can be restarted after all the lines have been cleared. The discharge hose is shorter than the discharge line on the wheeled units. Typically, a wheeled unit has a 50-foot line and our line is 12-foot. When operating the 400-pound Vacu-Fill, it is important to keep an eye on the pressure gauge. If the pressure gauge is reading in the green zone, that indicates that the unit is operating normally. If the gauge starts reading in the red zone, it shows that the internal pressure inside the hopper is excessive. This indicates that your filter is clogged and needs to be cleaned. The pressure gauge and fitting will need to be inspected and cleaned monthly. Maintenance is very important on the 400-pound hopper. You have a larger lid filter surface area. The lid filter needs to be cleaned after every discharge. Make sure when installing and reinstalling the lid filter that it is placed on the outside of the hopper. The lid is what holds your filter in place. Make sure you really clean up the system before putting it away for any long periods of time. We get many questions about chemical not flowing and ask for solution. Possible causes are that the chemical is damp or wet, the chemical has become compacted, or the inside surface of the hopper has become dull or rough. Suggestions for making the chemical flow: loosen the chemical in the hopper by slightly shaking the hopper. If you have a hopper with a hinge on the stand, you can tilt the hopper forward. Make sure your lid is lashed before tilting. Shake it twice and it will fluff up the chemical. You can spray the inside of the hopper with a good quality silicone wax. You should always discharge any chemical in the hopper for any reason if it's damp or wet. Rubber mallets should not be used to beat the hopper. When beating the hopper, the paint can be broken, loosened, and can cause the hopper to rust. Damaged or cracked hopper outlets will not provide a positive seal. It will allow chemical to pass very fast. The fill line must be tight around the hopper outlet. As the hose becomes old, the ends tend to get brittle and cracked. Just simply cutting off the end and putting it back on the outlet end of the hopper could improve the performance of the hopper. We have maintenance kits available for all of our systems. You can look on our website or call your sales representative for the proper kit for your system. It is important to use only manufacturer's recommended replacement parts for the Vacu-Fill systems and for your fire extinguishers. Make sure you call early if a problem is detected. You should always keep spare parts on hand to lessen your downtime. Never alter or use your system for anything other than what it was designed for. Most problems can be avoided by performing weekly or monthly maintenance.